Everyone, let's get to it here. We're going to start off with Yamamoto. I did not go live. Did I go live yesterday? I can't even remember. I don't know what day of the week it is. What is it, Tuesday? It's almost Thanksgiving. I know that. But Yamamoto officially posted by the Oryx Buffaloes. And the rule is you got 45 days to get something signed. I would imagine something is going to get signed for Yamamoto. They're going to agree on something here by the 45-day mark. Which team, though? I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of teams right now that are looking for Yamamoto to join their squad. Today, Jon Heyman on the hot stove for MLB Network. The first team that he really brought up, he brought up a few teams, but one team that he brought up were the Yankees. And the Yankees right now seem to be laser focused on Yamamoto. According to Jon Heyman, that is the one guy they got their eyes on, right? Out of all the pictures. He did mention that they checked in on Aaron Nola. I never saw Nola as a Yankee personally. I just didn't see that happening, honestly. Yamamoto is number one on their radar, according to Jon Heyman. I mean, hey, listen, if you got a rotation with Garrett Cole, with what Yamamoto has been able to do over in Japan, most likely it's going to translate well to the major leagues. My goodness, could you imagine those two at the top of the rotation? Tanaka was great for them. Could you have, Tanaka 2.0 here, honestly? I think Yamamoto has the potential to be even better than him. So, hey, that would be an awesome 1-2 punch if you ask me. And then if you get Rodon back on track, right, get him to do what he was doing with the Giants just a couple of years ago, that would be an amazing 1-2-3. I know a lot of people harped on Rodon last year, but hey, Rodon still has the talent to be a very good pitcher for that team. So we'll have to just keep our eyes on this. For the Yankees, again, that is their number one target as of right now, according to Jon Heyman. But there's other teams jumping in the mix here. The Dodgers seem to be interested in bringing in both Ohtani and Yamamoto. Says here, another one from Heyman, the Dodgers love Yamamoto. They are the one team really thinking maybe we can sign both. That's crazy to me. And I was actually just talking about this with Jim just a couple of nights ago when we did a stream together on his channel, where I was saying, man, do the Dodgers really want to spend that $200 million? Not 200, the $700 million on two guys? That to me, man, that is just, good grief. Good grief. That's a lot of freaking money, man. That is a lot of money. I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to digest them dropping that much on two guys. Listen, I know it's Ohtani, Yamamoto, very, very good, but I don't know. That's a lot of moolah. They can definitely do it. I'm not going to say they're not going to. I would just put it as less likely, right, than, maybe another team going after Yamamoto. And, I could see, obviously, the Dodgers getting Ohtani, but both, I don't know. That seems a little too much. But, hey, the Dodgers, they got the money to get it done. Will they? I'll probably say no, honestly. But they definitely could use it. Josh Lipchinski is in the chat. Can he hit? I don't know if he could hit. That'd be quite nice if you ask me. My goodness, the Yankees, they need to get it together. Giancarlo Stanton, please, can you please stay healthy for Brian Cashman? My goodness, you're killing him. But the Yankees do need some offense too. There was a report out not too long ago, I believe in the last couple of days, that maybe Jung-Hoo Lee could be a possibility for the Yankees as well. Keep an eye out for that, too. That was one prediction that I did make. You all know me. I'm terrible with my predictions. But Jung-Hoo Lee, I did think, I know you got Bellinger out there. My prediction, personally, is Bellinger goes to the Giants, right? Who knows what happens, but I could see Jung-Hoo Lee being a really nice piece for the Yankees. A guy that makes a lot of contact, a guy that's got a lot of speed, right? Good defense. He had some problems with the ankle last year over in the KBO, and he got surgery on it. I feel like he's going to be fine. And we've seen how good Ha-Seong Kim has been over in the majors. And Jung-Hoo Lee, this is a guy who has just as much talent as Ha-Seong Kim, and I think he would translate really well over to the major leagues. And hey, look out for the Yankees maybe looking into that. I would think maybe Bellinger is on their number one on their radar, but if they don't end up landing him, look out for Jung-Hoo Lee. But Yamamoto and the Dodgers, sure. I would think Ohtani is the number one for them. Just saying. If they can get two, I mean, hey, we saw what the Rangers did a couple of years ago, with Seager and Semien. I mean, this would be way more money than that. But, I mean, good grief. The Phillies. Look out for the Phillies when it comes to Yamamoto. They did just get it locked down with Aaron Nola, bringing him back into the fold for the next 7 years. But they are, according to Alex Coffey of the Philadelphia Inquirer, a source tells Coffey that the Phils will be pretty aggressive in going after the Japanese right-hander. But if they don't settle on the right price, they won't push for a deal. So, yeah, you know Dave Dombrowski. He's always going to be in just the thick of things when it comes to signing guys, making moves. Yeah, I could definitely see the Phillies making this move because you also have to remember, and I talked about this a couple of nights ago, Zach Wheeler is going to be a free agent next year, and that's a lot of money coming off the books. He is going to be going into his age 34 season. Could the Phillies maybe see, okay, let's go hard after Yamamoto now, and then we have him, for the next several years, and then, we can try and bring Wheeler back at the right price. If not, well, okay, at least we got Yamamoto and Nola. So I can definitely see maybe the Phillies getting in on this. But let's get to the Cardinals here. Let's get to the Cardinals. Yamamoto, Gray on their radar. And we're going to talk about the Cardinals in just a second, right? They did sign Lance Lynn yesterday, Kyle Gibson today. But Derek Gould is saying that they are going to be pushing for both of these guys. All right. Listen, it makes a lot of sense. Right? I guess this is a good time to really get into the Cardinals signings here, so I guess we can make that quick little pivot. All right, they did sign Kyle Gibson today to a one-year deal, Lance Lynn as well to a one-year deal. To me, this can't be where the Cardinals finish. It just can't. Now, here's the thing. Hear me out here. I absolutely think Gibson and Lynn are, maybe I'm going to set some people off by saying this, I think they're okay ads for the rotation. I know that sounds ridiculous. I know, I can see the ERAs, right? But I like the addition of a couple of guys for the back end of the rotation, guys that can eat innings, right? I like veteran guys that have been around for a little while, and they still have the ability to eat up a lot of innings, right? I just like that, right? And I think innings pitched is a very underrated stat, right? We look at the ERA, we look at the strikeouts, right? You like to look at the advanced numbers as well. You like to look at the pitches they're throwing, the velocity they have. But innings are so underrated. Now, I understand you need to have good innings. I get that. But to me, I'm okay with Gibson and Lynn being at the back here. Do I want them as, the 2 and the 3 in the rotation? No, I don't. But they're going to eat up a lot of innings for you. And that's the big thing. And again, they're veteran guys. They've been around. And they're going to be really good, in my opinion, for a lot of the younger guys on the team. I think you always need a good mix of veterans, younger players. I think those those teams that have that good mix, they tend to, more often than not, have more success, right? When you always look at those teams that win championships, there's always a really good mix of those veterans and the younger players coming up. So, hey, I'm okay with these two, or the Cardinals adding these two. I'm very much okay with it. So, let's see what they do next, though. You can't stop there. You absolutely can't. If this is what they're going to stop with, that's no bueno. That's not good. You need to do more. Could that mean Yamamoto, who, according to reports, is okay with going to the Cardinals, according to some reports out there, where the big thing with Yamamoto is he's been looking towards those big market teams, right? The Yankees, Dodgers, Red Sox, even the Mets. So I think that's a good sign for the Cardinals that he's at least okay, with going to St. Louis. I mean, another thing to keep in mind is Rosenthal said this a little while ago, where he said players coming over from Japan, and we're starting to see a lot more players now coming over from Japan, where he mentioned, and a lot of people kind of criticized this one thing he said, where he said a lot of Japanese players, they don't like to go to the same teams because they don't want to overshadow one another, right? It's more like a hierarchy kind of a thing where, if Yamamoto, let's say, goes to the Cubs, right? I mean, you got Suzuki there, right? So it's almost like they do it out of respect, right? They don't want to be going to the same teams out of respect for the other guy that's already there, right? So could that mean maybe Yamamoto could end up going to the Cardinals, right? Where if you look, or the Yankees, right? The Yankees right now, no big name Japanese stars, right? If Tanaka was still there, I don't know if that would happen. But with the Red Sox, you got Yoshida. You do have some Japanese stars in some spots in the league right now. Will Yamamoto look at the Cardinals and be like, hey, you know what? I can come here, all right? I'll be the guy, from Japan here. Same thing right now with the Dodgers. If let's say they don't get Ohtani. Let's say Ohtani shocks the world, and let's say he goes back to the Angels. That's hilarious thinking about it. But I'm still not going to count it out until he actually goes somewhere. But does that come into play? All right. I don't know. I think there is a little something to it, because you got to remember, these players from Japan, they're very respectful towards one another, and they're just very respectful to the game, right? I'm not saying it's only guys from Japan. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that is something between them, right? And Rosenthal has talked about it in the past. So if they were able to add Yamamoto to this rotation, right, you would have Yamamoto, you'd have Michaelis, you'd have Gibson, you'd have Lynn, Steven Matz. Let's see if he's healthy. It's not a bad rotation 1 through 5, in my opinion. I think that's pretty decent. We'll have to see how this goes, right? But Yamamoto right now is definitely the big name. His name is kind of popping up all over the place right now with several teams. Again, I'll reiterate, if you are just coming into the show, the Yankees, they seem to have him as their number one target. The Dodgers, absolutely okay with adding Ohtani and Yamamoto. The Cardinals, looking to make a move. The Phillies, looking to be aggressive. My Red Sox have been connected with him. We haven't heard a lot on the Mets lately. So, hey, Yamamoto, I'm excited for it. He's officially posted. And, who knows? Could this happen maybe in the next couple of weeks? Could this happen at the winter meetings? I don't know. I wonder, part of me speculating here, I wonder if he waits until Ohtani signs somewhere. Because I think those two, they're a little bit more connected than you might think, right? If Ohtani ends up going, let's say, I don't know. Let's just throw it out there. Let's say Ohtani ends up going to the Cubs. Well, I know the Dodgers have said, yes, we would be okay with adding both. But I would think if Ohtani ends up going elsewhere, the Dodgers are going to absolutely put their foot on the pedal for Yamamoto at that point, right? So I think there's scenarios where if whatever happens with Ohtani, that could affect Yamamoto's market as well. So I wonder if Ohtani goes somewhere first. I have to wait and see. But I'm excited for it. And just making sure, did we have any other super chats? I don't think we did. Jimmy Productions, thank you again for your super chat earlier. Everyone, if you can, hit that like button for me. The goal for tonight is 150 likes. I will love you forever if we can get to that 150 mark. So here we go, everyone. Let's get to the next story. And we have a little something here. Hold on one second. So, yeah, we just knocked out the Cardinals. We just knocked out Yamamoto. And there was also a little bit of Sonny Gray in there as well. I forgot to touch on him. One more thing about this. I'm not surprised about the Sonny Gray connection. This is something we have seen for a little bit. So I would imagine the Cardinals would have Yamamoto as the number one option. And then if they don't come through, maybe they go with Gray. But I guess you also have to go with the flow of the market too, right? The Cardinals have, remember, you can't just keep your eggs in one basket. I don't know. I wonder how the Cardinals approach this. Are they actually even connected with Gray? I mean, going into the offseason, how connected are they here, right? We all thought Aaron Nola was, that was a rumor going around for a long time that they were going to make a huge push for Aaron Nola. And then nothing even happened. They never even had a meeting with him, nothing, right? Is Sonny Gray someone that maybe they see, maybe that contract, it's going to be a little shorter in terms of, the years, probably not going to cost as much in total than Aaron Nola. So look out for that. I just wonder, I would think they would probably want, but I don't know. It's the Cardinals at the end of the day. They don't tend to spend those big bucks very often. So could maybe Gray be someone they see maybe a little bit more digestible? With Yamamoto, the market's going to get hot. So maybe they just pivot while everyone's going after Yamamoto. Everyone's, kicking and screaming for his services. Maybe they just pivot. Hey, Sonny Gray's right over there. We'll just go get him, right? I don't know. I could see maybe the Cardinals doing that. So look out for Sonny Gray as well. His name has been popping up in the rumors as well. Here we go, everyone. We just hit 100 likes. Thank you so much. We just hit 100 likes. Thank you for that. Help us get to 150 if you can. $5 super chat coming in from He Struck Man. $5. When the Yankees want someone, they get it done, like with Judge last year in colon 19. I believe they get Yoshinobu. Yeah, you got a great point. You do have a great point, and that is one thing with the Yankees, man. I still personally think they should do everything they can to get Soto, talk that man into an extension. If they somehow, some way got Soto and signed Yamamoto, I mean, what an offseason that would be. Holy cow. What an offseason that would be. That would be crazy. I think, the Yankees, you can't count them out, right? Of course. I mean, especially after a tough season last year. Go back to 2004, right? Go back then. They were one win away from the World Series, had the comeback, right? Down 3-0 or up 3-0 on the Red Sox. Red Sox come back. They were one win away from a World Series, and then they go out into the offseason and they go add Randy Johnson. Sure, we all know what happened with Randy Johnson with the Yankees, but it was still Randy Johnson at the time. That was a big deal when it happened, right? Go to the 2009 season where they signed Teixeira and Sabathia and Burnett, right? That was a massive offseason for them. Go to when they signed Tanaka, right? There's many examples of the Yankees making big pushes, for guys or several guys. So I definitely think there's a chance that the Yankees could get something done. The one thing that holds me back a little bit is they did just spend a lot on Judge last season and Rodon as well. It's I don't know. It's just the way with the Yankees. It's not the George Steinbrenner Yankees anymore, right? I just wonder. Yeah, you're going to see their name. Here's the thing with the Yankees. You're always going to see their name, right? It's the Yankees. They're always going to be making phone calls, always, right? But are they going to do it this time? Are they going to be able to, land some of these big names? Or will they even want to make a big enough push, right? We haven't heard of anything with Bellinger here in a couple of days, but we're seeing them connected with him. I don't know. I honestly think with, the amount of spending that they did last offseason, I could see them maybe settling for someone like I mentioned earlier, Jung-Hoo Lee. Maybe instead of Yamamoto, they can do Imanaga, who's, the next guy up, coming in from Japan. I could see the Yankees doing that, right? I think with the Yankees, it doesn't matter how many players they end up signing at the end of the day. It comes from within. It comes from what these coaches are doing, getting these guys prepared to hit, getting these guys, prepared to pitch, which they, were pretty decent with the pitching last year. They definitely could use some upgrades, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, they got to get the bats going, and they got to get something going internally, right? So they can add all these guys. They've added guys, right? They've made moves, and the offense couldn't do anything last year. I know Judge got hurt, but it starts from within, right? They can make all the moves they want, but they won't get anywhere unless they figure it out with themselves. So let's get to it here. Let's get to our next story. And like I said, we covered the Cardinals. We covered Yamamoto. And let's get into some trade talk here. And we do have a little something, finally, on Shane Bieber. All right, John Morosi, he was on MLB Network today, talking that several teams have been showing interest in Shane Bieber. If you didn't catch the stream last night, I did a trade market preview with John Bitzer of Baseball Trade Values. For everyone that came out to that, thank you so much. That was a great show. That is obviously available on the channel. If you didn't see it, go take a look. We took a dive into each of the trade candidates, or at least most of the bigger names. So go check that out if you haven't already. But we did talk about Shane Bieber, and John was speculating that he wonders, because of the problems that Bieber has been having with the arm over the last couple of years, right? He did come back at the end of the year last year, made a couple of starts. Overall, had pretty decent numbers, but we have been seeing the velocity dip. The advanced numbers have been dipping a little bit. So Bieber, we know Bieber is a decent pitcher, more than decent. He's a good pitcher, when he's healthy. And he's a guy that you would love to have in your rotation as a good number 3, in my opinion, in your rotation, maybe even a number 2 in some rotations. But the problem with Bieber is he can't really stay healthy. So John was speculating last night that he wonders if teams are really, going to be able to get the right deal for him, at least as of right now. Maybe he could be more of a deadline kind of a guy, right? Maybe they want to see how he does, through the first half of the season, maybe kind of get an idea of, how he is. And one thing with the Guardians too, is the Guardians, they're always trying to have a good team. They're always trying to compete, right? No matter what, they're trying to put the best possible team on the field. So I don't think it's a complete slam dunk that Bieber ends up getting traded this offseason. If the Guardians, they roll out their team next year, end up not doing so great, but Bieber is pitching pretty well, then yeah, absolutely, I could see him as a candidate. I'm not saying he won't get traded this offseason, but I just do wonder about the health of him, and I wonder with him, how much are teams willing to give up for him? And I would imagine with the Guardians, they're going to be asking for a pretty high price. They're going to set the price high. Our team's going to be comfortable with that just because of the health, and I think it's something to pay attention to. So, but his name did come up, and we hadn't really heard of him at all. So, hey, look out for it. Look out for it. Jimmy Productions, $4.99 Super Chat. Who are some players you think the Nationals should trade? Who should they trade away? Well, let's go take a look at this. Let's go take a look. For the Nationals, honestly, I don't think there's really a whole lot for them to do. You look at the bullpen, right? You got some guys at the back end there. Maybe someone like Hunter Harvey, right, where he's got a couple of years, but he's not expensive. So, it's kind of one of those things where, sure, could they make a deal? But at the end of the day, you're only paying this guy $2.2 million. That's pretty cheap, right? And you got yourself a pretty good reliever at the back end of the bullpen there. Even someone like Kyle Finnegan, Kyle Finnegan, at the end of the day, he's pretty good, and he's only making, $5 million next year. That's not really expensive. So, yeah, could they maybe make a move? Corbin's not going anywhere. He's not. The only way I could see Corbin going somewhere is if he has, an amazing first half of the season, and then a team will make a trade at the deadline. But Corbin's not going anywhere. I don't know, maybe Trevor Williams, possibly. I don't think there's really a whole lot for the Padres to do when it comes to trading away guys. I think they really should be focusing on adding guys. I think if you were to trade away some guys, I think, look at what the Royals did last offseason, signing Aroldis Chapman. I could see the Nationals making moves like that, right? Bring him in. Hey, this is a guy that can definitely bring something to our team. If we're in contention, great. If not, well, we can just trade him away at the deadline, right? So there's definitely that possibility as well. So, hey, the Nationals, I think, could be a pretty decent team next year. I'm not sure if they're quite ready to make that leap, right? But I think they could be a pretty decent team, right? They definitely increased their win total last year. So, and the Nationals, they got some talent, right? And they got some guys coming up. So, I don't think the Nationals necessarily really make any big trades. Maury's Life, $1.99. Foreign on vacation every offseason. Listen, I'm confident the Giants can get something done, right? I was just talking with John about this last night. He gets the short end of the stick with the big deals, right? So I say they go with a different approach. I say they go with a couple of lower tier kind of guys, right? And I think, let's go that approach, right? Where, they haven't been able to land the big ticket. They're probably not going to land Ohtani, in my opinion. I think it would be a great signing for them if they somehow did it. But, I don't know. The Giants, they just can't seem to land the big fish. Judge last year, Harper a couple of years ago. Stanton didn't want to waive his no-trade clause. Carlos Correa, that was a different scenario where the medicals didn't, they didn't like the medicals, but still it didn't work out. They just can't seem to get something worked out for these big names. So I say, change the approach, go after a couple of guys that are, going to be a little cheaper than those, $300, $400 million guys, right? Maybe go for a couple of guys, maybe a guy in the $100 million range, maybe a guy in the $200 million range. That's why I think Bellinger and Chapman are amazing fits for them, right? They need both of those positions upgraded, right? You could use something out in center field. They could use some better defense at third base. I know. I hear everything about Casey Schmidt, J.D. Davis. I know. But Casey Schmidt, he can move around. J.D. Davis, to me, I like the bat more than the defense. Chapman is an upgrade at third base for you. Has the connection with Melvin. I think this makes a lot of sense for the Giants to really just go after those two, in my opinion. So that's just me. And Bellinger would be a great bat for them. And obviously, he's used to the National League West. So could you imagine that? Bellinger going back to the Dodgers Stadium with a Giants uniform on. That'd be pretty hilarious if you ask me. So Jimmy Productions, or who should we trade for, you say? So for the Nationals, I don't think the Nationals really should be making any trades at the moment. If I go pull up the simulator here on Baseball Trade Values, and if I'm pulling up the Nationals, I don't know. I just think there's not really a whole lot of moves, and if we're looking at some of the guys that could be candidates for Jimmy Productions, obviously Dylan Cruz isn't going anywhere. Wood is not going anywhere. Abrams is definitely not going anywhere. Gore, I don't know. I just don't see why they would really make a trade right now. It doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. I don't know. If you're looking at the Nationals in terms of their roster, I just think you should really let the young guys get some playing time right now. I just think, see who can emerge as guys that could be cornerstones for you, for the next several seasons. I think if they could make a trade, I don't know, maybe you could go for someone like Paul Blackburn, from the A's, someone that's not going to break the bank in terms of getting a deal. I could see maybe something like that, someone a little lower tier. But I just don't think the Nationals are really in a position right now. They could get some deals done if they really wanted to, but I just think for the long-term success of the organization, they shouldn't be trading away any prospects right now. It doesn't really seem to make a lot of sense to me. So, but thank you. Maury's Live, $1.99. Giants are going to sign. Giants are going to. That's funny. Maury's Live, $1.99. Giants are going to sign Bodie Collinger, his twin. John Heyman, where you at? Where you at? I'm waiting for the John Heyman tweet. John Heyman is sweating. All right. I just need to know what the tweet is going to be for John Heyman this year. I gave out a good one. I said I can't wait for Mark Chapman to be announced going to the Giants by John Heyman. Goodness. Mark Chapman. That'd be a great ad. I'm just saying. Let's move on here. Let's move on. We do have one more trade rumor going around right now. And Maury's Life, thank you for the $1.99. Taking a look here. And we got a little Jonathan India. My stream is lagging for me, everyone. I don't know if that's the same thing for you, but I don't know. But as for Jonathan India right now, Natty Sports, right? They're big in the Cincinnati area. They got almost 22,000 followers on X, Twitter. Are we calling it X now? Is that a thing? Is X the official thing that we're saying now? Are people leaning into that now? I don't know. But according to Natty Sports, the Reds are engaged in active trade talks with the Boston Red Sox regarding second baseman Jonathan India. Nothing is imminent. So he's also saying Tanner Houck is a name rumored, and the Reds would require prospects additionally. Well, I'm going to debunk that right now. That is no bueno. I'm going to tell you that right now. He's bringing up Wickelman Gonzalez. To me, I could see the fit. I don't see them doing this, right? So let's go to the simulator. Let's go on over here. And, honestly, if the Padres, if they were to trade here, and we got a little something here from Jim Bowden as well, and he also confirmed the India talks, as they have already engaged in trade talks with the Reds about Jonathan India, about Gleyber Torres. He also mentions Kim would be a perfect fit. I do agree, Jim Bowden. I do agree, but the trade that he suggests is Nick York and Tanner Houck, and yeah, that's a no bueno one for me. You got to remember here, Tanner Houck, yeah, he's still kind of figuring it out in the major leagues a little bit, but he has shown success. Listen, I know Tanner Houck has a bit of a ways to go, but still cost-controlled starting pitching at the end of the day, right? Cost-controlled arms are thin, no matter, say what you will about Tanner Houck, but he's cost-controlled. That's one thing that is scarce in Major League Baseball. And Nick York, second base prospect. I think you could argue that these guys, their median values. Remember, these are the median values here, right? So I think they probably could be a bit more on the lower end, right? 14 for Nick York. If we're looking at Tanner Houck, you're looking at 15. So, yeah, I could see maybe the low end of those ranges for them personally. But I still feel like, for Kim, who only has 1 year left on that deal, if he had 2 years, yeah, I could see that. But 1 year left for Kim. I would love Kim. Absolutely. I just don't think I see really this trade working out. But as for the Jonathan India rumors, now, here's how I feel about Jonathan India and a potential trade with the Red Sox. Now, I feel like I've been seeing a very similar response from most Red Sox fans out there. Like, okay, if you get Jonathan India, that's fine. Could you maybe do something a little better? Sure. Because you got to remember here, the options at second base, I mean, they're not exactly plentiful out there. I think Whit Merrifield could be a decent guy. He has versatility. He can play other positions. India, on the other hand, kind of more of just a second baseman at this point. And if you wanted to slide him in at DH, his bat is not overwhelmingly good in that spot either. However, the bat with Jonathan India did get a little better last year after a pretty down year the year prior. So if we go look at Jonathan India here, all right, they're decent numbers from last year. If we're taking just a quick look, the batting average, 244, 338 on base, I'm okay with, 400 slugging, 17 homers. It's not amazing numbers. But the one thing I do like with Jonathan India, he's a good clubhouse guy. A lot of Reds fans, pretty much all of them will tell you, he's the heart and soul of that team, right? He's a guy that's just always a positive influence in the clubhouse. And the Red Sox, I know, they like to have those kind of guys, right? They like to have those good clubhouse guys, right? He just likes the game of baseball, right? He's just a dirt dog. He's also, I would say, he's a dirt dog kind of a player, right? He's not going to give you the best defense out there, but he'll be fine, I feel like. He's fine, right? And the bat, the one thing with the bat, I think you could say one thing with him where I think he could fit with the Red Sox a little bit is he doesn't chase a whole lot, right? If we go look here at Jonathan India's StatCast numbers, let's take a look. And I could see maybe why the Red Sox are a little interested, right? The Red Sox last year, they were kind of middle of the road when it came to their outside swing percentage. They were 16th overall in the outside swing percentage last year, while Jonathan India is he's a guy that's going to be pretty patient at the plate. If you look at the chase percentage last year with him, 93rd percentile. So I could see where the Red Sox, they see that. They look, the guy walks a bit. He has a decent on base, right? 338 on base. That's not bad. And maybe the Red Sox, maybe they see something with him that they can get going a little bit, right? And he's a guy that's under control too. So, I can see why there is interest for Jonathan India. Now, if you do notice with India, while, after the 2021 season, his numbers dipped, but they came back up a little bit in 23. So maybe the Red Sox feel like, hey, you know what? This guy, he's on a good path, right? He made some adjustments last year. We noticed the adjustments. Let's kind of get him going a little bit more. So I could see the Red Sox doing that, right? I could see them thinking that way. And another thing, too, the base running is going to be pretty decent with him. The Red Sox, they were 26 in base running last year on Fangraphs. So that is something that he will bring a little bit. Now, Fangraphs, with the way they see his base running, they don't see his base running as good as StatCast does. But hey, whatever. I guess you can maybe find a middle ground. I would say Jonathan India. If Fangraphs says he's not a great base runner, StatCast says he is a good base runner. So I guess you can maybe find that middle ground, I guess, where he's probably going to be fine running the bases, right? So, with him, I would like to have Jonathan India. I wouldn't mind it, honestly. I think, to me, I just like what he brings to the clubhouse. He's a younger guy, too. And, heck, to me, why not? The one thing I thought, I also wanted to go look at the spray chart with him, too. With Jonathan India, with him, he will pull, but he's going to go oppo, too. So maybe the Red Sox feel like if they maybe can get him to pull a little bit more, or I don't know how they would even approach it, honestly, but maybe they think like, okay, you know what? We want you to pull a little bit more with the monster, right? And we feel like we can get your numbers, back to those 2021 numbers, right? The 20 home runs, right? So I can see why the Red Sox would be interested in him. He brings those intangibles, right, that don't pop up on the stat sheet. So I could see it. Now, with Jonathan India, again, he's not going to cost you a bunch as of right now. However, with the Reds, they do have a bit of a logjam there. There is a little something there, and where, they definitely could make some room. And if you're looking at India right now, he has a 7.7 surplus, right? That's a manageable value, right? Where you could send back a couple of decent prospects. Now, I could maybe see the Red Sox maybe parting with one of these pitching prospects, right? A Wickelman Gonzalez, or I don't know about Luis Perales. That is their top pitching prospect at the moment. But when you're looking at the two values for those guys, Perales is at 4.8, Wickelman Gonzalez is at 4. So I could maybe see, let's do a Wickelman Gonzalez. Maybe you can throw in another piece. Now, when it comes to the Reds outfield, hold on a second. I'm thinking as I go here. Could maybe there be a scenario where somehow, some way, maybe Verdugo could be an option, right? Now, if you're looking at the outfield, you got Friedel for center field, Steer in left, right field, you got Benson. I feel like, if you did send over India, that would open up a spot where, I guess with Steer, Steer, you probably maybe want him probably staying out in the outfield because you do have that logjam in the infield. I don't know, maybe maybe Verdugo could be an option. I would think Reds fans, probably not. I don't know. But if you were to do maybe Verdugo and Wickelman Gonzalez, I think that's pretty, when you're looking at the values at least, I think that could maybe be something there. Where Verdugo is a major league ready player. I'd just be curious how the Reds would fit him in. I don't know. Reds fans, let me know. How would you feel if you got Verdugo and a pretty solid pitching prospect for Jonathan India? I don't know. Let me know. Just an idea. But everyone, before I do carry on with a couple of more stories, do want to talk about our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. They have been amazing for us. The link is in the description down below. The code is HIDE. You get a double on your first deposit up to $100. Not bad if you ask me. But right now, obviously, no baseball going on right now. But you got basketball, you got football coming up. And, we just had some Monday Night Football. We got Thursday Night Football coming up. And, hey, obviously, Sunday right around the corner. And we got Thanksgiving. I asked, what am I talking about? We got Thanksgiving. I'm going completely blank that it's Thanksgiving in a couple of days. So you're going to have the football games. So maybe go check out Underdog Fantasy. Maybe drop a couple of bucks, see if you can win yourself some cash. Now, if I'm looking at some NFL pick'ems here, what a classic Thanksgiving matchup. We got the Packers. We got the Lions. I mean, that just screams Thanksgiving. Those two teams are always playing on Thanksgiving. I feel like, wait, did I just say the Tigers? Did I say the Tigers? I meant to say the Lions. If I said the Tigers, I am sorry. See, hey, baseball mode. But the Lions, I feel like, are always playing on Thanksgiving. I feel like they've played every Thanksgiving. Is that correct? I feel like that is correct. But some other games to pay attention to. We got the Commanders. I always want to say the Redskins. And the Cowboys. Of course, the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Gotta love that. And if we're looking at some other games here, we got the Niners and the Seahawks. Not bad. That's the 820 matchup. So there's a whole bunch of different pick'ems that you can do for Thanksgiving football. And, of course, basketball. That is more of the daily fantasy at the moment. So go check that out as well. But one more thing that Underdog does is they do in-game pick'ems. So as you can see here right now, the Trailblazers and the Suns are playing, but you can still go make picks even if the game is going on. So Jeremy Grant, for example, if you want to go higher or lower on the 18.5 points, you can, even though it is still in the game, right? He's currently at 4 points. So if you feel like he can get over the 18.5, go make a pick. But as always, please remember to play responsibly. That is the big thing that I always want to say with Underdog Fantasy. And don't forget about our friends over at Factor Meals. Hey, they got great meals going on. Right now, you're looking at herb-crusted chicken. You're looking at the Italian-style pork ragu, chicken pot pie pasta. We've got Indian butter chicken as well, sweet potato grits and sage chicken, ground pork chili, and cheddar mac. And listen, you're probably all thinking, oh, he's just saying all this stuff, right? Sponsor, yada, yada. Listen, I have these meals in my freezer. They're really good. I just had one today. They're very convenient, especially if you are busy on the go a lot. They do come in handy a lot. Anyway, let's move on here. And we got some Padres news. And we got Mike Shildt as the new manager for the San Diego Padres. And there's a lot to unpack here. I was kind of talking about this in the intro, right, where I'm not sure how I feel about it, all right? Mike Shildt, listen, if you go look up some YouTube stuff on Mike Shildt and, talking to his Cardinals teams back from a few years ago, the guy, he makes you just all fired up, man. He makes you want to run through a wall, right? He is a guy that can really get you motivated, man. The Cardinals, the players, for the most part, it seemed like they liked him a lot. Tommy Pham, he's been on record saying, hey, he's a big fan of Mike Shildt. And, hey, I'm okay with it. But the one thing, I have a couple of things here about Mike Shildt. Couple of things. One thing that I'm wondering about and one thing that I'm looking at statistically, right? Now, if you go back to the Padres last season, let's actually go back to their offense last season. Now, one thing they really struggled with last year was runners in scoring position. If we look at their WRC plus for the whole year, right, they did rank 7th overall. However, if you look at how they did with runners in scoring position, it was something, man, where it was like, what the heck is going on where is runners in scoring position? Here we go. So the Padres last year, they actually did get it going towards the end of the year, but it was too little too late. They were actually one of the bottom teams when it came to runners in scoring position for the majority of the year. They did get themselves up to number 21 in Major League Baseball, but still not great, right? And that, a lot of it had to do with how hot they got at the end of the season. But overall, 21st, that's no bueno if you ask me. And if you go to the Cardinals, while Mike Shildt was the manager there from 2019 to 2021, and one of the reasons he was dismissed was philosophical differences. Now, I don't know what those philosophical differences are, but if I'm looking at the numbers, I mean, they were only 19th overall during his tenure there in WRC+. So, I don't know. One thing I did notice, right, when I was kind of looking at the numbers a little bit, is the Cardinals during that time, while he was the manager, they were more of a contact kind of a team, right? If we look at their contact percentage, they were 9th overall during that time, right? So, if I'm making a guess, right, WRC plus, that is kind of like that newer number that's coming around, especially for offense. I'm thinking, man, like Schildt was a bit more old school, right? He wanted to put the bat on the ball, right? You can see here they made a lot of contact during that time. But when you just look at how they did offensively, I mean, it wasn't really great, 19th overall in WRC plus. They were 16th in 2019. They were 18th in 2020. I know a lot of people throw that season out. And they were 16th in 2021. So if you threw 2020 out, they averaged 16th overall in 2019 and 2021. Remember, in 21, they had the big win streak that got them into the playoffs. And then their offense just completely went cold, right, against the Dodgers in that wild card game. So I just wonder with the Padres, I just wonder, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Obviously, he has been with the Padres in the last couple of years. He was the senior advisor for player development. He was the 2019 manager of the year. So, I mean, he definitely has a lot of good things going for him. I just wonder, is it going to be a good fit? The Padres last year, they were a good contact team, right? If you go look at the contact percentage with the Padres, they were up there. They were a top 10 contact team last year. So he fits in there, right? But I just wonder, has he changed anything, right? Where, but I also wonder as well, this is one thing that it kind of was making me a little curious. I understand the Padres, they want to do their due diligence. They want to interview guys out there. But remember, Mike Shildt has been with the Padres for the last couple of years. But what took so long, right? What took so long? There was a lot of interviews going on. Phil Nevin was gaining a lot of steam, right? You were hearing Phil Nevin's name a lot. It looked likely that he could have been the guy, right? Flaherty was another one who was also with the team. I thought maybe they could have gone with him because he's a younger guy. He was running the offense last year, right? He was, the hitting coach. And I wondered if maybe since he had like kind of a grasp on what was going on, familiar with the guys, a little closer to their age, maybe he could have been a good candidate, right? But he was someone that was there. And then they also interviewed Adrian Gonzalez. That was something that came out a little earlier. Adrian Gonzalez. I mean, good grief. I did like me some Adrian Gonzalez back in 2011. He was great for the Red Sox. Then he just fell off a cliff for them. And then he went to the Dodgers. But that would be crazy. Adrian Gonzalez, this to me, I would have loved for Adrian Gonzalez to have a nice long tenure with the Red Sox and go down as one of the better Red Sox players ever. But that did not work out. So he went to the Dodgers. And it seems like when you think of him, all right, Gonzalez was a Padre too. I get that. I know. He came from the Padres to the Red Sox. But when I think of Adrian Gonzalez, maybe it's his more recency. Maybe I just see him in that Dodgers jersey, right? I know I remember him in the Padres jersey too. But either way, my point is what took so long to get Schildt in as the guy? He was already there. You knew what you had with him. And I get it. It's fair for the Padres to go make some interviews. But it's like, I just feel like he was the guy they fell back on. I don't know. Like maybe he was already the guy, but then maybe Preller said to him, hey, you are the guy, but I want to kind of go around. I want to talk to some other guys too. But why would he want to, right? If you ended up going with Schildt as your manager and he was already there, you already knew what you had with him, why interview other guys, right? So that it kind of, I don't know, it gives me a weird vibe a little bit. At the end of the day, hey, I think Mike Shildt, I also, what I think is a good thing for the Padres and Schildt, that team, I feel like he is a guy, like Melvin to me was a little more soft-spoken, right? He was more of a calming influence, while I see Schildt as being a guy that can really get his players revved up, right? And if you go, again, I mentioned there's a lot of videos floating around out there after, they went to the postseason, and Schildt, he gave some pretty good little speeches, right, for his team, and, they were all fired up, So I wonder if that's a guy that can maybe get a bit more out of them, at least mentally, right? I do just wonder about the numbers while he was with the Cardinals, right? The Padres, they got these good hitters, but is he going to be the guy that gets the most out of these guys, right? What's going to, how is the coaching staff going to look? Again, I'm just looking at numbers from when he was with the Cardinals, and I'm not sure if it fully translates. And maybe he has taken some different, he's learned a couple of things over the last couple of years that he'll do differently. Maybe he wants to try, right? So I don't know. I just do find it interesting that you already had him, so why did it take so long? So I don't know. Anyway, but let's get to a couple other news here. And we got Reynaldo Lopez heading to the Braves. $30 million guaranteed, 3-year. Hey, not a bad deal. Not a bad deal if you ask me. And when I'm thinking of the Braves right now, I think they definitely are in a position to go out and get someone. Could they maybe be a guy that goes after Yamamoto or a guy that goes after Sonny Gray? I think they do need someone. But with Lopez, this is a guy, a ton of velocity, right? He's going to be a good arm for you. 66 innings last year, 83 Ks, a 3.27 ERA. I like Lopez. I think he's a good addition. They are saying that they're going to work him up to be a starter. Hey, if you can be your 4 or 5 in the rotation, sure. Let's go for it. I think he's a really good arm, and he's only 30 years old, just about to turn 30. So I think it's an overall pretty solid signing for them. It's a good arm, right? But if he ends up just being in the bullpen too, hey, that doesn't hurt at all. Look out for the Tigers showing some serious interest in Kenta Maeda. And, hey, Tigers, man, they just lost Eduardo Rodriguez. I don't know. But one thing that's pretty interesting about this, the Tigers view him as a possible veteran stabilizer for a young rotation, and also hopes a potential Maeda deal would help to establish themselves in the Japanese pitching market in the future. That's actually a pretty good way to look at it, right? If you get Maeda, sure, is he going to be, a huge upgrade for you in the rotation? No. But it's interesting. It's almost like an investment, right? Because you see all these guys coming over from Japan, right? You're seeing so much talent coming over from Japan. And hey, Kenta Maeda, man. Why not? Honestly, I think a great fit for him would be the Colorado Rockies, because he has good numbers at Coors, which is kind of weird for a pitcher to have good numbers at Coors. I think the Rockies should maybe jump on it, because maybe they can establish themselves in the pitching market. Roki Sasaki, you are a Colorado Rocky. I'm just kidding. But who knows? Maybe that could insert themselves into the mix. If they can, maybe get something good out of Maeda. Maeda has good things to say about the Tigers. Hey, obviously Kenta Maeda from Japan. Maybe that kind of gets him, on some more TVs in Japan. I'm not sure how people over in Japan are, looking at Maeda. I don't know. Or do they turn on the TV to watch Kenta Maeda pitch? I don't know. But who knows? With a guy like Sasaki coming over in a couple of years. Hey, Roki Sasaki on the Tigers? I'm just saying. But I think that is an interesting thing. I know it's he's a more lower tier free agent, but I thought that part was pretty interesting. So I believe that is all I have for tonight, everyone. That is all I have. We had over 300 people for the entire show. And everyone, you're amazing. Thank you for stopping by tonight. It's always great sharing the news with all of you. And hey, it's always a pleasure. Everyone, if you can, on the way out, if you can hit that like button for me, that is always appreciated. If you can help us out with the algorithm. And we hit our goal for tonight, 150. You are amazing. I appreciate that so much. Thank you for hitting that like goal. Hey, if anyone else, if you can hit it for me, that helps out with the algorithm. And subscribe if you are new. If you're looking for more baseball content every single day, we are your number one stop. Hit the bell notification. That way you know I go live every single time. Share the show. And I'm out of here, everyone. Thank you for stopping by tonight. Thank you all for the super chats tonight. Greatly appreciated. Thank you, all the members, all the moderators for stopping by. James, thank you so much. Nicholas, you guys are awesome. I believe we had, I thought we had another moderator. Never mind. Anyway, thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. Most likely, we will have a show tomorrow night. We won't have a show on Thanksgiving. I know everyone is going to be, eating all their food, watching football, spending time with family. I swear Shohei Ohtani better not sign on Thanksgiving. I know he won't, but he better not. Could you imagine? My goodness. Maybe the Red Sox can have Shohei Ohtani over. Maybe Craig Breslow can invite Shohei Ohtani over for Thanksgiving dinner, just like Theo Epstein did with Kurt Schilling back in the day. Hey, we wouldn't know about it because Ohtani doesn't want anyone to know about any meetings. Let's have Ohtani over for Thanksgiving dinner. I think that would be amazing. He can bring the dog, too. That would be great. Everyone, have yourself a great night, and I'll talk to you next time.